Good evening, fellas. Today I'm going to show you how to change out spark plugs and the coil on plugs for a 2008 Toyota Sienna. This is what the vehicle looks like. This one's a V6 transverse style. So 3 spark plugs are in the front, 3 are in the back. The cowl is going to have to come off, and the intake manifold, the upper intake manifold. So I'll show you the steps how to get to it. Okay, so I don't have my tripod today, so I'm gonna have to do a lot of cutting the films off and on step by step, but I will guide you through it and explain where the bolts are, what you need to remove and not remove. But the first step will be to remove the battery, or at least disconnect the battery. You don't have to remove the battery. And then you're gonna have to drain the engine coolant. And for the engine coolant under the radiator, there is a drain plug. It has the wing nut. So once the battery's disconnected, go ahead and drain the coolant into a pan. You do want to save the coolant because you can reuse it. So let me get to it and I will show you guys the next step. So you can actually see the wing nut from above here. Well, it's underneath that hose, that 90-degree elbow hose. You can see the white wing nut right there. And just to allow more airflow, I went ahead and just loosened the radiator cap so that it could drain a bit quicker to speed up the process. All right, guys, so the battery's disconnected. The coolant is still draining. Next steps are with a screwdriver, pop off these caps for the wiper arms because the wiper arms need to be removed. And this whole black piece right here is called a cowl, C-O-W-L. I believe that's how it's spelled. This has to come off too to make space to get to the back of the spark plugs and make more space to remove the upper intake manifold. All right, so after the wipers arms, they have been removed. To try to take this cowl off, if you look closely, you're gonna have a difficult time lifting it. So when you have a little gap when you're in the process of removing it, see that's where that claw, like it grooves into it. You're gonna have to push the cowl a little bit back down, and with the screwdriver, press on that claw right there, and it'll move the piece back, and you can lift it up. So that is the next step. All right, once the cowl cover has been removed, the wiper motor needs to go as well. So there you have to remove this connector, the power connector to the windshield wiper motors, or motor, just one. You will remove one bolt here, one bolt down there. They are both 10s. And more on the passenger side, go ahead and remove the top one and this bottom one, and then I will show you what it looks like next. Push in on this grommet to remove it from this hole right here. So you're gonna want to remove the grommet. And there was a 10mm nut. It was for this sensor. You're gonna want to go ahead and remove that nut, pull this sensor off of that stud, put the bolt back on, or the nut, so you don't lose it. And then you're gonna remove all these 10s that you can see that will hold this black bottom cowl. There's one right here. You could remove this back one. There's another one right there. And you just keep going on until you find them all. There's one back here, could barely see it. And one right here. And then the whole black bottom cowl should come off. All my coolant, well, most of my coolant that I need to be drained is filling up my tray. And then finally the bottom cowl cover has been removed. As you can see, I have it right here, and I have everything placed, from my first steps to going to my last steps. And then when I put everything back together, just reverse order. Now, a good tip on removing everything is to always put, all the bolts that you can remember, put the bolts and nuts, put them back where you removed them from, so you know where they go. You will definitely save yourself a headache. So I put them all back. There you go. And those two. And for the wiper motor, I'll put these ones back in here. And for the wiper motor itself, I put on the wiper arm, the nuts for them. One right here, one right there. And I can remember where they went, the other ones. Ah, there we go. On the bottom cowl, there's two more for the wiper motor assembly. This one and that one, so don't forget. So I just went ahead and just simply took off the engine cover, you know, that has the Toyota emblem with the V6. As simple as just pulling it off. No bolts needed. And slowly just work your way across. Remove the air filter box. There's one bolt here, one back there. Disconnect the mass airflow sensor, and then this should just pop up, and you're gonna slide the cover out of the grooves. So just, you know, much like a come out like that. Work your way across, you know, remove anything connected to this piping, this air duct piping. So for example, you know, get some pliers, you know, take this off, or just do it by hand actually. That should be a 10mm bolt. Go ahead and loosen it, and then this whole air duct pipe should just slide right off. Don't forget to take this airbox cover off first, then that. And then I will show you the next steps after that. I am getting almost there to removing the upper intake plenum. I did remove a couple of other stuff just to make more space. You can see my progress. That hose right there, that I think that's the PCV hose. It was connected to here, and I believe, yeah, it went up to the top up there, if I remember correctly. I'll know when I put things back. So what you're gonna need to remove next is there are these two hex or Allen shape 5mm metric. So there's gonna be two in there, two in there. You zoom in a little bit. I know with the shadow you might be able to see it, may or may not. And then on the side is a 10mm, but it has the stud exposed on top. So if your shallow socket doesn't work, get a 10mm semi-deep or long. There's one over there. And I'm gonna have a difficult time filming, but just like this style, there is one in the back of the intake plenum, and there is also one more in the back of here as well. There's just no way I have a access. But let me remove the upper intake plenum and I will show you what it looks like. I'm still working on getting to that back bolt, but to make more space, go ahead and disconnect the harness to the throttle body. This is the throttle body right here with the butterfly plate. Go ahead and disconnect the harness and remove these two coolant lines that go to the throttle body. And then there should be these 4 bolts that are 10mm, and this should pop right off so we can get a better look to find those other two 10s in the back. It took me a minute to really get this upper intake plenum off. It was a, not gonna lie, it was a pain in the butt. So remember how I told you there were those two 5mm hex, and then there was 2 outer 10s that had the stud sticking out. So here is a better view. I put the bolts and nuts back in place where they belong, and I went ahead and got some rags that were like clean, to you know, protect the cylinders, make sure nothing gets bypassed behind the valves. You don't want no pieces of rock. Even the smallest tiny rock, if it scratches the cylinder wall, that can shave off like 20,000 miles. It could, you know, cause low compression. Anyways though, so back to this. So here's the back that I was not able to record. I went ahead and took off that one right there and this one. It's my first time removing a upper intake plenum on a Toyota Sienna, and I've done them a lot on the Ford Explorers. So for these two that I'm talking about, that one and that one, it's gonna be right there. That's one on the driver's side, and for the passenger side, It was way back there, way in the back. There you go. So you can get a complete good view, center of the camera. Get that to focus. Now, when I put this back on, and the next time I do this, my goal is to try to remove the top ones instead. That to the bracket, that one and that one. And maybe that could have shaved off a lot of time, but by removing the throttle body, it was much better to get an easier view on these two. So there you go. Now that I have the intake removed, I was already able to get to the front 3 spark plugs and coils. This should be, oh yeah, and I forgot to tell you on the previous clip, they were not this style. That's what I thought they were in the back. These are 12 millimeters, just so you guys know ahead of time. 12 millimeter hex. But anyways though, so here are the front 3 coils, and then to the spark plugs. Each one have their own clip, 10 millimeter nut or bolt. And then now we have access to the rears, which would be one coil is right here. Get a good view. Yeah, that's 1. Here's 2 and 3. Yep, so 1, 2, or 2 and 3. Same thing. 10 millimeter bolts, and you should be able to get to the back 3 spark plugs without an issue. You change all 6.